My name is Alicia Warren, and I'm a 35-year-old woman who has learned that sometimes life doesn't tap you on the shoulder, sometimes it slaps you across the face. But nothing prepared me for the moment my entire world flipped upside down. It happened on a Thursday afternoon, inside a cold office where the air smelled like old paper and broken promises. My boss, Mr. Coleman, looked at me over his glasses and said words that carved deep into my chest. "You're not qualified for the promotion." Smiled. Actually smiled. Not because I was okay, far from it. I smiled because the only other option was to scream. I walked out of the office calmly, like a woman whose life hadn't just been pushed off a cliff. I got into my car, shut the door, and drove home without saying a word to anyone. 3 days later, my phone was vibrating non-stop on the kitchen counter. Buzzing, ringing, flashing. When I finally picked it up, I froze. 71 missed calls. From my boss. From coworkers. Even from numbers I didn't recognize. And the first voicemail made my knees go weak. But I won't tell you what they found out just yet. Not now. Not this early. Let's go back. Let's start from the beginning, because to understand why those calls came in, you need to know who I am, what kind of heart I carry, and why the world tried to break me for it. Before I continue, tell me, where are you watching from? United States. Canada. Somewhere cozy with a cup of coffee in hand. Now let me introduce the people in my life, the ones who lifted me up and the ones who tried to crush me. There was Emma, my best friend since college. Loud, warm, and always ready to fight anyone who hurt me. There was Derek, my younger brother, a soft-spoken paramedic with the biggest heart I know. There was my boss, Mr. Coleman, a man who believed rules were more important than people. And there was Pam, my coworker. Pretty smile, expensive perfume, and a heart made of salt. Now let me take you back to when things were normal. Or at least normal for me. I have always believed in kindness. Not the weak kind people laugh at, but the strong kind, the kind that requires courage. I grew up poor in Detroit, raised by a single mom who worked 3 jobs but still found time to hug us, teach us, and show us that the world didn't have to make you hard. Be soft, she told me once. But don't you ever be a doormat. I carried that with me through school, through heartbreaks, through every job I ever worked. At the company I worked for, Brightview Logistics, I was known as the helper. The one people came to when they had questions. The one who stayed late to finish a team project. The one who remembered birthdays, who brought snacks, who wrote little encouraging notes and left them on desks. I didn't do these things for attention. I did them because I know how heavy life can feel. And sometimes, one small kindness can be the rope someone else needs to keep climbing. But kindness, I learned, is sometimes seen as weakness. Especially by people like Pam. She'd laugh when I helped new interns. She rolled her eyes when I shared credit with others. She whispered behind my back, "She'll never make it far." Too soft. Still I stayed focused. Still I worked hard. Still I believed the promotion to team lead would finally be mine. After all, I handled the biggest accounts. I trained half the department. And I had never, not once, received a complaint. But the world isn't always fair to the ones who play fair. It all started to go wrong on a Monday morning. I arrived early like always, carrying a box of muffins for the office. I held the door open for Mr. Coleman, who grunted instead of saying thank you. When I walked into the office, I noticed something strange. People were whispering. Pam stood near the printer with 3 others, and the second I walked in, they went silent. Smiled anyway. I always did. "Morning, guys." Pam smirked. "Big week, Alicia. Promotion announcement soon. Hope you're not too anxious." She dragged out the last word like she was peeling tape off skin. "I'm fine," I said. And I was. At least I thought I was. But then strange things started happening. First, an important client email disappeared from my inbox. Then a file I completed suddenly had errors I knew I didn't make. And twice, someone changed the schedule for my meetings without telling me. I brushed it off as mistakes. Because that's what kind people do. We give others the benefit of the doubt. But I should have known better. Later that week, Emma called me. "Alicia, I heard something from someone who works in your building." Are you okay? What do you mean? There are rumors that you've been messing up your accounts, that you're falling behind. I laughed at first. Then I didn't. Because a cold truth hit me. Someone was trying to make me look incompetent. But who? I didn't point fingers. I didn't fight back. I didn't report anyone. Because I still believed in empathy. Maybe someone was jealous. Maybe someone was stressed. Maybe someone needed help. But kindness doesn't protect you from knives you don't see coming. Then came the meeting. The one that changed everything. The one where Mr. Coleman said I wasn't qualified. I sat in his office, waiting, hoping, praying that my years of hard work would finally pay off. Instead, he leaned back, folded his hands and said, "You're not qualified for the promotion." No explanation. No evidence. No kindness. Just those words. And I smiled because that was the moment I realized something. Something big. Something sharp. Something dangerous. Someone had set me up. But I said nothing. I stood, thanked him for his time, walked out, got into my car, and smiled like a woman who had finally seen the truth. Then I drove home. 3 peaceful days passed. Quiet. Almost too calm. Until the calls started. When I finally picked up my phone, the screen burned into my eyes. 71 missed calls. Something had happened at the office. Something big. Something they did not expect. Something that made them desperate to reach me. And the first voicemail made my breath stop. But not yet. I won't reveal it yet. Because before we get to that, we need to go back to something smaller, something less extreme that happened right before those calls came in. Something that looked normal on the outside, but changed everything on the inside. And that is where the story continues. But first, the less extreme event. On the morning of the second day after the failed promotion, I went for a walk in my neighborhood to clear my head. Snow covered the sidewalks, and the air smelled like winter and peace. An older man slipped on the ice, dropping a bag of groceries. I rushed over, helped him up, gathered his things, and walked him to his door. He smiled at me and said something I didn't expect. "Sometimes, child, the world pushes you down so you can see who will pull you up." At the time, I didn't understand how true those words would become. I didn't know that within 24 hours, my life would explode. Because the next morning, the extreme event hit like lightning. At exactly 6:42 a.m., someone banged on my front door so hard that the entire house shook. Froze. Because when I looked through the window, I saw something that made my heart jump into my throat. It wasn't one person. It was 3. And they weren't just knocking. They were yelling my name. Something had gone terribly wrong. And the banging on the door grew louder, hard, desperate, and sharp enough to make the picture frames on my wall rattle. For a moment, I just stood there barefoot on the wooden floor, frozen like someone had poured ice water down my spine. The sun wasn't even fully up yet. Faint light leaked through the curtains, painting long shadows across my living room. "Alicia! Alicia, open the door." A woman's voice. Panic. Familiar. My breath caught. It was Emma. Behind her, 2 figures moved around anxiously on my front porch, but I couldn't see their faces clearly through the frosted glass. Why was she here? Why this early? Why did she sound afraid? My heart slammed against my ribs as I approached the door. My hand hovered over the doorknob, trembling slightly. When I finally pulled it open, the cold Michigan air slapped me in the face. And there she was, Emma, looking like she had sprinted 5 blocks. Her hair was messy, her cheeks red from the cold, and her eyes were wide with something I rarely saw in her: fear. "Alicia," she gasped, "why weren't you answering your phone?" Behind her stood 2 co-workers, James from accounting and Sarah from customer support. Both looked shaken. I swallowed. "My phone died last night. I forgot to charge it." They exchanged a look, one that twisted my stomach. "What happened?" I asked. Emma pushed her way inside and closed the door behind her, as if she was afraid something or someone might follow. "Alicia," she said, voice trembling, "you need to sit down." But I didn't. Could barely breathe. "Just tell me. James rubbed the back of his neck. There's been an incident at the office. My heart dropped. What kind of incident? Sarah stepped forward, her hands shaking. It's bad. Really bad. And it involves you. My throat tightened. Me? What do you mean it involves me? They hesitated. And for a few seconds the house was too quiet, uncomfortably quiet, except for the sound of my own heartbeat thudding in my ears. Emma finally inhaled deeply and said, "They found something." She didn't say what. She didn't explain. She didn't soften it. Just that. They found something. My mind raced. Had something gone wrong with one of my accounts? Had a client complained? Had paperwork been mishandled? Or was this connected to the missing emails? The changed schedules? The rumors suddenly floating around the office? Or worse, had someone planted something? My chest tightened painfully. What did they find? I whispered. Emma opened her mouth, but before she could speak, there was another hard pounding on the door, this time even louder than the first. All four of us jumped. "Alicia Warren!" a man shouted from outside. "Open up. We need to speak with you immediately." I turned toward the door slowly, dread crawling through my veins like ice water. "That's," James whispered. "Mr. Coleman," Emma finished. My blood went cold. Why was my boss at my house? Why now? And why did he sound furious, but also afraid? My pulse hammered as I moved toward the door again. When I opened it, I found Mr. Coleman on my doorstep, red-faced, sweating despite the cold, breathing hard like he had sprinted across a parking lot. Behind him were two more Brightview employees I barely recognized. The look on his face wasn't anger. It was panic. "Alicia," he said, "you need to come with me to the office. Right now." I blinked. "What? Why? What's going on?" "We don't have time. You need to come now." Emma stepped between us. "She's not going anywhere until you explain what's happening." Mr. Coleman shook his head. No, you don't understand. This is serious. Something has happened that." He stopped mid-sentence and looked past me, noticing my coworkers standing inside. His voice dropped lower. "You all know we can't talk about this outside the office." "Then talk," Emma snapped. I said no. I raised a hand. "Stop. Everyone stop." I turned to Mr. Coleman. "I'm not going with you until you tell me what's going on." His jaw clenched. "A major irregularity was discovered this morning," he said slowly. My heart pounded. "What kind of irregularity?" He hesitated again, his eyes darting nervously between me and the others. Then, in a low, tense voice, he said, "One that points directly to you." My stomach dropped so hard I felt dizzy. "To me?" "Yes," he said. "And the board wants answers. Immediately." Emma moved closer to me protectively. "Alicia has done nothing wrong." Mr. Coleman wiped his forehead with a shaking hand. "Look, I don't care what you think. Just get your things. We're leaving." I felt a swell of confusion and fear crash over me. Everything was happening too fast, too suddenly, too intensely. "What did you find?" I asked again, voice barely more than a breath. "We're not discussing it here," he insisted firmly. "Come to the office. Now." I shook my head. "No." He stared at me like I had just slapped him. "No," he repeated. "No. Not until I know what's going on." He stepped closer until he was right in front of me. "Fine," he said, lowering his voice to a whisper. "We found." But before he could finish, Emma grabbed my arm. "Wait," she said suddenly. "Alicia, don't answer anything. Not until we get a lawyer." "A lawyer?" I whispered. "Why would I need a lawyer?" Emma looked straight into my eyes. Her voice shook. Her face paled. "Because whatever they found, it's bad enough to make them show up at your house at sunrise." I felt like the ground was tilting beneath me. Mr. Coleman's jaw tightened. "We're not doing this," he said sharply. "Either you come willingly or..." "Or what?" Emma snapped. He pressed his lips together, shaking with frustration. Alicia, he said, Brightview believes you were involved. And until we clear this up, you are the primary suspect. My breath stopped. Suspect. Suspect in what? I wanted to speak, but before I could, a noise cut through the air. A loud, sharp sirens in the distance kind of noise. Everyone turned. The sound grew louder, closer. And then, a police cruiser turned the corner. And then another. And another. In seconds, 3 police cars were pulling up in front of my house, their lights flashing red and blue across my lawn. I gasped. James stumbled back. Sarah covered her mouth with her hands. I felt my body go numb. Mr. Coleman looked at me with an expression that made my stomach twist, a mix of fear and guilt. Alicia, he whispered. Don't panic. But it was too late. The panic was already there, rotting its way through my chest. As the first officer stepped out of his car and headed toward my front door, my heart nearly stopped beating. And that extreme event, the arrival of the police, would change the entire direction of my life. I didn't know it yet. I didn't know anything yet. Not what they found. Not who did it. Not why I was being dragged into it. All I knew was that my life had just exploded. But before the truth, before the unraveling, there was still something else that had happened earlier. A smaller, less extreme event. One I didn't think mattered at the time. It happened the night before. When I went to bed feeling strangely uneasy. I walked through my house, turned off all the lights, and noticed something odd. Car was parked across the street. Engine running. Lights off. But when I opened my blinds wider to get a better look, the car suddenly drove away. At the time I brushed it off as nothing. But later I would realize it was the first sign. The first warning. The first hint that someone had been watching me long before the police arrived. And that brings us back to the present moment. Because as the officers approached my house with serious faces and cold expressions, something deep in my gut whispered, "This isn't a mistake. This is a setup. And it's only the beginning." The officer stepped onto my porch, hand resting on his belt. He opened his mouth. The officer on my porch was tall, broad-shouldered, and serious. The kind of serious that makes your stomach feel like it's sinking into the floor. His badge caught the morning light, flashing once like a warning. He looked past me into my living room, where Emma, James, and Sarah stood frozen. "Ma'am, are you Alicia Warren?" Could barely breathe. "Why, yes." He nodded once. "We need to ask you a few questions." Behind him, the other 2 officers spread out. One stood near the curb. The other scanned my house, the yard, the windows, like he was checking for an escape route. Why? What did they think I did? What could possibly be so serious that 5 co-workers and 3 police cars were standing outside my house before sunrise? I swallowed hard. "Can you tell me what this is about?" The officer didn't answer immediately. His eyes flicked to Mr. Coleman, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the ground. "Sir," the officer said to him, "we'll take it from here." Mr. Coleman nodded quickly. He was sweating so much his glasses fogged. That's when the dread began crawling up my spine again. Slow, icy, suffocating. The officer turned back to me. "Miss Warren, can we step inside?" I hesitated, but Emma grabbed my hand. "You're not talking to anyone alone," she whispered fiercely. "I'm staying." The officer raised his hands calmly. "That's fine. We're just here to ask questions." He stepped into my living room. His eyes landed on everyone at once. "Can we all sit?" he said. No one moved. So he continued standing. "Miss Warren," he began, "an incident took place at Brightview Logistics early this morning." My heart pounded. "What incident?" "This morning," he said slowly. "Security reported an unauthorized entry into the main office after hours." My breath hitched. "Break-in." "Someone broke into the office." The officer continued. "The break-in wasn't random. Whoever entered the building went straight to the records department and accessed highly sensitive files." I felt the blood drain from my face. "And based on the evidence left behind," he said, eyes locking on mine, "you were found at the scene." My mind snapped. "What? I shook my head quickly. No, that's impossible. I was home. I haven't been in the office since the promotion meeting. He didn't blink. The security cameras show a woman entering the building last night at approximately 11:47 p.m. Emma stepped forward. What woman? Not her. The officer continued. She used your employee badge. Froze completely. My badge? Yes. And your car was seen in the parking lot. I didn't drive anywhere, I said sharply. I was home. I didn't leave the house. The officer nodded. Your neighbors said they saw your car pull out at around 11:30 p.m. My heart squeezed painfully. My car hasn't moved, I insisted. It can't have. I keep my keys on the kitchen counter. Emma marched to the counter, grabbed the keyring and held it up. Her car is here, she said. The keys are here. Someone could have copied the keys. Or someone stole her badge, James cut in. A lot of people have access. The officer looked at all of us, then back at me. There's more, he said. Each word dropped like a stone. When the intruder entered the records room, they retrieved a single folder from the cabinet and left it open on the table. What folder? I whispered. The officer exhaled very slowly. Your personnel file. The room spun a little. I grabbed the arm of the couch to steady myself. Why would someone break into the office to access my file? Why would someone want to make it look like I did it? Unless this was connected to the missing emails. The schedule changes. The sabotage. The promotion. Unless someone wasn't just trying to make me look incompetent. Someone wanted to destroy me. The officer's voice broke through my thoughts. And the biggest issue, he said, is what was found inside that file. I stared at him. What do you mean? He hesitated. Then finally, a copy of a confidential client contract was discovered in your file, one that was reported missing 2 days ago. My mouth opened, but no words came out. A missing contract. In my file. I didn't put anything in my file. Cried. I don't even have access to that cabinet. Only management does. Mr. Coleman shifted uncomfortably. He knew that was true. The officer studied me for a moment, as if trying to decide whether I was lying. I want to be very clear, Miss Warren, he said. You are not under arrest. But we do need you to come with us to the station to answer more questions. I shook my head vigorously. No, I'm not going anywhere until you figure out who actually did this. Alicia, Emma whispered. Calm down. But I couldn't. Because in one breath, my entire life had twisted itself into a nightmare. The officer held out his hand gently. Please, come with us. We just need your statement. My hands were shaking. My breath felt too thin. Emma held on to me tightly. I'm going with her. You can follow behind, the officer said. Then he added quietly. This isn't a small situation anymore. Brightview is treating it as corporate espionage. I felt the world tilt. Espionage. Me. I sat down on the couch because my legs suddenly didn't work. Someone had gone into that building pretending to be me. Someone had taken something important. Someone had planted something in my file. Why? What did they gain from framing me? And who hated me enough to do all this? My mind instantly flashed to one face. But no. Even she wasn't this cruel. Right. Before I could make sense of anything, another officer walked into the house holding a small black object. Ma'am, he said, this was found in your driveway. He held it out to me. I stared at it, confused. It was a USB drive. Plain one. Black. No label. I've never seen that before, I said. It was right beside your car tires, he said. As if someone dropped it rushing away. My heart squeezed. Is it connected to the break-in? Ma asked. We won't know until we check, the officer said. But things are pointing in that direction. Felt sick. Everything was falling apart. Everything was happening too fast. And none of it made sense. My eyes stung with hot tears, but I forced them back. I didn't do this, I whispered. I didn't break into the office. I didn't take anything. I didn't even leave my house. The officer nodded as if he understood. But the tightness in his jaw said he wasn't sure. Miss Warren, he said gently, we're asking you to come down to the station voluntarily. If you don't, he glanced at the police cars outside. This becomes more complicated. Emma growled. She said she didn't do it. But the officer stayed firm. I know. But we need her statement. My heart thumped painfully. I hadn't done anything wrong. So why was everything pointing to me? I took a shaky breath. Fine, I said softly. I'll come. I stood slowly, legs trembling. As I grabbed my coat, the officer stepped aside to let me through. But then, just as I crossed the threshold of my doorway, someone shouted from the street. Wait! Don't take her! Everyone turned. A woman was running down the sidewalk toward us, waving her arms frantically. My eyes widened. I recognized her. Nancy. The night shift custodian at Brightview. She was panting, out of breath, clutching something in her hand. She skidded to a stop in front of my house and pointed directly at me. I need to talk to her, she gasped. Right now. The officer frowned. Ma'am, we're in the middle of. No, Nancy shouted. You don't understand. I saw something. Last night. At the office. My breath hitched. Everyone stared at her. Nancy swallowed hard. I saw who really broke in. The air froze. My heart stopped. The officer stepped closer. Who did you see? She shook her head quickly, eyes wide with fear. Not out here, she whispered. You're not safe on this porch. Let me inside. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Not safe. Not safe from what? Emma pulled me back toward the living room. Let her in. Nancy hurried inside and closed the door behind her. She was shaking so badly the paper in her hand rattled. She turned to the officers. You've got the wrong person, she said breathlessly. The person who broke into the office wasn't Alicia. I held my breath. The officer narrowed his eyes. And how do you know that? Nancy slowly held up the paper in her hand. This fell out of the intruder's pocket, she said. I didn't understand what it meant until this morning. She unfolded the paper. My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. When she turned the paper around, everyone gasped. It was a printed photograph. A photograph of someone inside the office, wearing all black, their face partly covered, but not covered enough, because even with half a mask on, I recognized the person. My stomach dropped, my chest tightened, my vision blurred. It wasn't me. It was, her blonde hair, her eyes, her build. It was her. The officer stared at the photo, stunned. James whispered, "Oh my God." Emma clenched her fists so tight her knuckles turned white. I felt my knees go weak. Pam broke in. Pam stole my badge. Pam used my car. Pam framed me. But why? The officer stared at the photo. This changes everything, he muttered. But then, a loud bang rattled my windows. Everyone jumped. Nancy screamed. The officer ran to the window and looked outside. Then his face changed. It went pale. Terrified. He whispered, "Oh no. She's here." For a moment the entire room fell silent. So silent I could hear the electric hum of my refrigerator from the kitchen. The officer's face was pressed to the window. His hand braced against the wall. His jaw tightened, and the muscles in his neck tensed like a man bracing for impact. Emma whispered, "Who's here?" But I already knew. A cold shiver crawled through my body as dread tightened its grip around my chest. The officer looked back at us slowly, his voice low and tense. "It's Pam." My breath caught. Mo. How did she know the police were here? How did she know Nancy had come to my house? And why would she show up now, right when the truth was starting to break open? Emma rushed to my side, her arm wrapping protectively around me. James and Sarah backed away from the window like the glass might explode. Nancy was trembling with both hands over her mouth. I told you. I told you she saw me last night when I picked up the paper. She saw me. The officer motioned for everyone to stay quiet. Nobody move. But his command came 1 second too late. A sudden loud pounding crashed against my front door. Vem, vem, vem. Alicia! A voice yelled from outside. A high, screeching, furious voice. Open this door. My whole body lurched with fear. Emma whispered, Don't open it. Don't even go near it. The pounding continued, harder this time, loud enough to make the wood strain. Nobody help her. Pam's voice screamed. This is between me and Alicia. Everything inside me twisted. The officer moved fast toward the door, shouting, Ma'am, step away from the house. This is the police. But instead of backing away, Pam slammed something against the door. Bam! The officer flinched. She's armed with something. Everyone moved back. My legs felt like they were rooted to the floor. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, or that this was actually happening at my home, in my quiet neighborhood. Pam screamed again. You ruined everything, Alicia. You think you're better than me. You think you deserve that promotion. Open this door. My hands flew to my mouth. No, I whispered, a tremor in my voice. No, this can't be happening. The officer drew closer to the door. Ma'am, drop the object and step away. From outside came the sound of footsteps pacing, like a wild animal circling prey. I heard Pam's voice again, lower this time, as if she were right against my door. Alicia, if you don't come out, I swear. But before she could finish, sirens wailed down the street. Back up. The flashing red and blue lights lit up my living room through the curtains. The officer at the door sighed in relief. She won't get far now, he murmured. But he was wrong. Pam was not running. She was staying. And she was determined. Another sudden crash against the door made Nancy scream and jump back. The officer pulled away, shouting to the others outside to surround the house. Stay where you are, he yelled at us. And don't go near the door. My heart thundered. I'd never been this scared. Not even when I lost my father at 19. Not when I had to rebuild my life with 2 jobs. Not when my mother got sick years later. This fear was different. It was the fear of being hunted. From outside, Pam screamed again. Her voice strained, broken, and full of rage I couldn't understand. You think you can make me look bad, Alicia? You think you can take everything from me? That promotion was mine. I earned it. I deserved it. Covered my ears. This wasn't jealousy. This was obsession. Pam wasn't trying to hurt me because of one promotion. This had been building for years. Emma glared at the door like she could burn a hole through it. She's lost her mind. She's actually lost it. Another loud crash sounded outside. Metal clattering on the porch. Then silence. The kind of silence that makes you hold your breath without realizing it. The officer held up his hand, listening. Nothing. No footsteps. No screaming. No pounding. Just silence. He turned toward the door cautiously, stepped forward, and slowly pulled it open an inch. He peeked outside. And froze. His posture stiffened. His breath stopped. His hand fell slowly to his side as he stared at something on the porch. What is it? I whispered. He didn't answer at first. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. You all need to step back. A lump formed in my throat. Why? Yes. He exhaled shakily. There's something on your porch. Emma pulled me away from the window. Alicia, don't look. But I couldn't help it. The officer stepped out onto the porch fully now, and that's when I saw his shoulders tense even more. He shouted to the officers outside. Secure the area, she left something behind. Nancy whimpered. What did she leave? What did she leave? He didn't say. Instead, he stepped further out as 2 more officers ran up to my house. I moved closer to the window, ignoring Emma's attempt to pull me back. Through the thin glass I could see, just barely, something small and shiny lying in the middle of my porch. Silver chain. With something attached. But before I could fully make out what it was, The officer rushed forward and covered it with a glove. He quickly bagged it and handed it to another officer. Then he came back inside with a face so tense, so grim, so carved with worry that my heart sank even deeper. "Alicia," he said, "you need to hear this carefully." I swallowed. What did she leave?" He paused, choosing his words with care. "It's a necklace," he said. "A necklace with a pendant." My brows furrowed. "A necklace? What does that mean?" He inhaled slowly. "It's the same necklace Pam wore yesterday at the office." I blinked. "So, she must have dropped it when she—" "No," he said firmly. "You don't understand." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small evidence bag. Inside it was a heart-shaped silver necklace. But inside that heart, there was a folded piece of paper. Tiny, deliberate. My mouth went dry. He handed the bag to me without opening it. "Miss Warren," he said, "whatever message she left, it was meant for you." The words hit me in the chest like a punch. Message. From Pam. Left on my porch. Right after she tried to break in. My hands shook as I held the bag up to the light. The tiny folded paper inside had a single word written across it. Even through the plastic I could see the letters clearly. Single word. A word that made my stomach flip. "Soon." Emma's breath caught behind me. "Oh my God," James whispered. "She's threatening her." The officer nodded grimly. "This is no longer just a break-in or a framing attempt. This is now a targeted threat." Felt cold. So cold I thought I might faint. "I don't understand," I whispered, my voice cracking. "Why is she doing this to me?" The officer didn't answer. Because he didn't know. And neither did I. Not yet. But something inside me told me this wasn't just about the promotion. This went deeper. Much deeper. Before I could say anything else, a loud buzz came from my phone on the table. Everyone looked toward it. I swallowed hard and picked it up. Unknown number. Calling. My hand shook as I answered, placing the phone on speaker. Hello. First there was only breathing. Low, shaky, and steady. Then a voice whispered through the speaker. Soft, trembling, and full of something that made my skin crawl. "Why did you make me do this, Alicia?" My entire body froze. It was Pam. She was calling my phone. From somewhere nearby. Nancy screamed. Emma grabbed me. James stepped toward the window. But the voice kept going, deeper now, broken. "You took what was mine," she whispered. "And now I have to take something from you." My blood ran cold. "Alicia," she whispered, "you should never have smiled in that meeting." My breath caught. She had been there. She saw me smile. She knew. The officer grabbed the phone and barked. "Pam, this is the police. Drop your location and surrender immediately." But she laughed. A sharp, unhinged laugh. "You can't catch me," she said. "Not yet. Not until I do what I came to do." "Pam, stop!" cried. "Please stop. You don't have to do this." But the line echoed with only one more chilling sentence. "You'll understand soon." Then the call ended. And before any of us could move, a rock shattered my living room window. Glass exploded everywhere. The man in the dark hoodie didn't move at first. He just stood there in my kitchen as if he had always belonged in that space, like he was part of the furniture. My breath caught in my throat. Every sound in the room felt louder. The hum of the fridge, the ticking of the clock, even my own heartbeat. His face was hidden under the hood, but I could see his hands. Strong, tense, ready for something. I didn't know what to do. My legs felt weak. My mouth was dry. But I refused to show fear. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice shaking even though I tried to make it firm. He took one slow step forward. I took one step back. For a moment, we were stuck in a silent standoff, one that felt like it could break at any second. Then he finally spoke. "Don't scream," he said quietly. It wasn't a threat. It sounded almost tired. But it didn't make me feel any safer. I wasn't going to scream," I whispered. He lifted one hand slowly, like someone comforting a frightened animal. "I'm not here to hurt you." My back hit the counter. He stopped walking. Then he lowered his hood. It was a face I had seen before. Not closely, not personally, but enough to recognize him. "You're the guy from the SUV," I breathed. He nodded once. "I've been trying to talk to you for days." My heart pounded harder. "By breaking into my house." "I didn't break in," he said quickly. "Your door was unlocked." That actually made it worse. My knees almost gave out. "Why are you following me? What do you want from me?" He didn't answer right away. He looked toward the hallway, then back at me. "Something is happening at your workplace," he said. "And you're in danger. Big danger. You don't know it yet, but they do." I stared at him, frozen. "Who is they?" He opened his mouth to answer. But suddenly there was a loud bang on the front door. He jerked his head toward the sound, eyes wide. "They're here." My heart dropped. "Who? Who is here?" He rushed to me so fast I flinched, but he grabbed my arm gently. Not to hurt me, but to move me. "We have to leave. Now." My body wouldn't move. "Leave? Where? Why?" "There's no time," he hissed. "They tracked me. If they find me here, they'll think you know everything. And if they think that..." Another slam at the door, harder this time. "Jenna!" a voice shouted. "Open the door right now." It was Mr. Hanley's voice. The man beside me stiffened. Too late. The banging stopped abruptly. The house became dead silent. I didn't breathe. He didn't breathe. Then the handle on the front door began to twist slowly. My blood turned cold. The man in the hoodie whispered, "Follow me," and pulled me toward the back door. But before we could take 2 steps, the front door burst open with a violent crash. I screamed. Footsteps thundered inside. "Jenna!" Mr. Hanley shouted. "Where are you?" The man grabbed my hand tighter. "Don't answer him. Please. Trust me." But trust was impossible. Everything was wrong. Everything was too big. Too fast. Mr. Hanley appeared at the end of the hallway. His face twisted with something I'd never seen before. Fear? Anger? Panic? "There you are," he said breathlessly. His eyes snapped to the man beside me. "And you, I told you to stay away from her." The man pulled me behind him protectively. "She has a right to know the truth, Hanley." Hanley shook his head sharply. "No, she doesn't. Not yet." Felt dizzy. "Someone tell me what's going on." Neither of them listened. They stared at each other like 2 wolves circling. "The board knows you've been digging," Hanley said to the man. "You've put a target on her back now." "That's why I'm trying to get her out," the man shot back. "You're making it worse. You're lying to her." "I'm trying to protect her. By hiding the truth." The tension snapped like a rope under pressure. Mr. Hanley lunged. The man pushed me aside, and the 2 crashed into each other. Chair toppled. A lamp shattered. My house became a battlefield, and I was shaking so hard I couldn't decide whether to run or scream or collapse. "Stop!" cried. "Stop fighting." Neither listened. The man shoved Hanley into the wall. Hanley swung back, catching him across the jaw. They were both out of breath, both desperate, both acting like something bigger was at stake. And then, just when I opened my mouth to yell again, a window shattered from the outside. A red laser dot flickered across my living room wall. Then another. And another. My heart stopped. 'Cause those were not normal red dots. They were targeting lasers, aiming inside my house. Us. Me. "Get down!" the man shouted, diving toward me. And right as he reached me, a shot exploded through the window, and everything went black. Darkness isn't really quiet. Has whispers. Has echoes. It has the feeling of falling even when you're lying still. That's what I felt when everything went black. The kind of darkness that felt too heavy to just be the absence of light. The kind that felt alive. I didn't know how long I was inside it. Seconds. Minutes. Hours. I didn't know I was waking up until I felt a sting in my left shoulder. Then a louder sting. Warm. Dark. Almost burning. A voice floated through the darkness. Muffled, shaky, worried. "Stay with me, Jenna. Come on, open your eyes." The world came back slowly. First sound, then shape, then the awful pounding inside my skull. I blinked hard. And the first face I saw was the hooded man. Except his hood was now down, and his face was covered in scratches and dirt. His jaw was bleeding. His eyes were full of fear. "You're okay," he whispered. "You're okay. Please stay awake." I tried to speak, but my throat felt tight. What happened?" He looked over his shoulder quickly before answering. "You got hit." My stomach twisted. "Hit by what?" "A bullet," he said, voice cracking slightly. "It grazed your shoulder. You fainted from the shock." I looked down. My shirt was torn and soaked with blood. "My blood." I gasped, but he pressed a hand lightly to my arm. "It's not deep. Swear." I stopped the bleeding. "But we can't stay here. They're still out there." My mind flashed back to the glowing red dots on my wall. The shattering window. The gunshot. Hanley fighting. Kiss. Fear. All of it rushed back like a wave. I sat up too fast and winced as pain shot down my side. "Where's Hanley?" The man's face darkened. "He ran. The moment the shots started. He ran out the side door." I swallowed. Hard. "He left us." The man didn't answer directly. "He did what he always does. He protects himself." I didn't know if I wanted to scream, cry, or faint again. He helped me stand. My legs trembled. I leaned on him for balance. My living room looked half destroyed. Glass everywhere, furniture knocked over, bullet hole in the wall. My safe place was now a crime scene. A war zone. "You need a hospital," he said softly. "No," I said immediately. "No police, no doctors. They'll find me." He nodded. "Exactly why we can't go to a hospital. They'll have people watching." A small breath left my lips. "Who are they?" He hesitated. But then, he finally spoke. "The board at your company. The people who make the real decisions. They aren't who you think they are." I stared at him. "Why would the board want to hurt me?" I whispered. "I'm not important. I'm not rich. I'm not powerful. I'm just normal." "You're not normal to them," he said. "You're a threat." I almost laughed. "To who?" "I just do reports and fix spreadsheets. You were promoted without their approval." My whole body froze. "But I wasn't promoted," I said. He looked at me with something close to pity. "Yes, you were. 3 weeks ago. You just weren't told." My heart felt like it stopped. What are you talking about?" He kept his hand on my arm to steady me. "A promotion was approved for you. Director level. With access to financial data the board didn't want you to see." "That makes no sense," I whispered. "Why would they approve something they didn't want?" "They didn't approve it," he said. "Someone else pushed it through. And the board found out." Everything inside me twisted. "And now they think I know something," said. "They think you will know," he corrected. "And they can't risk it." My knees turned weak again. He caught me before I fell. I shook my head slowly. "This is insane. This is beyond insane." "I know," he said quietly. "But you need to trust me now. Because we don't have many options left." He opened the back door and peeked outside. The night air was cold. The street was empty, too quiet. It made my stomach tighten. "They'll come back," he whispered. "They never leave unfinished work." Cold chills slid down my spine. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Somewhere safe." I didn't want to go. I didn't want to stay. My entire world had turned into a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. But I followed him. Because being alone felt like the most dangerous choice of all. He guided me toward the tree line behind my house. There was a narrow trail I'd never noticed before. It looked like it led nowhere. "Is this where your car is?" I asked. "No," he said. "Cars can be tracked. We walk from here." We reached a small clearing hidden behind the trees. A shed stood there, old wooden with vines crawling up the sides. He opened it and revealed a ladder going underground. "This is real," I whispered. "Yes," he said. "Go down. Quickly." I stared at him, trembling. "Why do you even have this? Who are you?" He didn't smile. "I'm someone who used to work for the board. Until I found out what they were doing. And now I'm the only person trying to stop them." I hesitated. He climbed halfway down the ladder and held out his hand. "Jenna, please." I took a shaky breath. And finally, I took his hand. Halfway down the ladder, I heard a twig snap in the woods behind us. Froze. The man's eyes widened. Go now. Faster." I climbed the rest of the way down as fast as my injured arm allowed. He came right behind me and pulled the hatch shut. Darkness swallowed us again. But this time it wasn't quiet. There were footsteps above us. Very soft. Then a voice. Cold. Close enough to feel like it was breathing on the back of my neck. "She was here," the voice said. "I see the blood." My heart turned to stone. Another voice joined him. "She won't get far." The man beside me placed a finger to his lips. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Not until the footsteps faded into the distance. He finally lit a small lantern, revealing a narrow underground tunnel made of old concrete. "We're safe for now," he whispered. But I didn't feel safe. Not even close. He led me deeper through the underground passage until we reached a cramped room with an old cot, crates, and a first aid kit. The air smelled like dust and time. "You can sit," he said gently, pointing to the cot. I sat slowly, holding my shoulder. He knelt beside me and opened the first aid kit. "I need to change the bandage." Let him. Mostly because I had no strength left to argue. He worked carefully, avoiding my eyes. He looked like he carried 1,000 worries on his back. Once he finished, he sat across from me. "I think you deserve to know my name," he said softly. I held my breath. "My name is Lucas." The name felt familiar. I closed my eyes, trying to place it. Hit me. "You're the whistleblower," I breathed. "The one who leaked documents 2 years ago. The one who went missing." His jaw tightened. "Yes." "Oh my God," I whispered. "People said you died." He shook his head. "I disappeared so the board couldn't finish what they started." Everything inside me turned cold. "And now they want to finish it with me," I whispered. He didn't deny it. He didn't sugarcoat it. He just nodded. "You're not safe until we expose them," Lucas said. "And the person who can help us is someone you already know." My heart skipped. "Who?" He looked at me with a seriousness that made my stomach drop. "Your boss." I stiffened. "Hanley." He ran away. He left us to die. "He's not what he looks like," Lucas said. "He's scared, yes. But he knows the truth. And he's the only one who can prove it." I hugged my arms around myself. "So where is he now?" Lucas opened his mouth to answer. But before a single word came out, a loud metallic bang shook the underground tunnel. I jumped to my feet. Lucas stood up fast, lantern shaking in his hand. The bang echoed again. Harder. Closer. Someone had found the hatch. Someone was trying to break it open. Lucas grabbed my arm. "Stay behind me." My pulse raced so fast it felt like my heart was trying to escape my chest. Another slam. The ceiling rattled. The metal groaned. Dust rained down. Lucas whispered, "They found us." With a violent crack, the hatch above us split apart, and a dark figure dropped down into the tunnel. The figure hit the ground with a heavy thud, landing in a crouch like someone trained, someone dangerous. Dirt and dust swirled in the lantern light. Lucas stepped in front of me instantly, shoulders tensed, breathing sharp. I could hear the pounding of my own heart in my ears. The figure stood slowly. For a moment, all I could see was a silhouette, broad shoulders, tall frame, gloves, and something strapped to his belt. Then the lantern flickered brighter, and my breath caught. He wasn't wearing a mask. He wasn't a stranger. He was someone I knew. Someone I had seen almost every day. Kevin. The cheerful guy from accounting. The one who brought donuts on Fridays. The one who laughed too loud at meetings. The one who once fixed my printer and said, "If this thing breaks again, just call me. I'm your printer guy forever." That Kevin. But his face was not friendly now. His eyes were cold, focused. Jenna, he said calmly. You're making this so much harder than it needs to be. Lucas stepped forward. Don't take another step. Kevin smirked. Lucas, I should have known you'd be here. You always had a soft spot for lost causes. Leave now, Lucas warned. Or I swear. You'll what? Kevin cut in, laughing under his breath. Fight me. You're bleeding. You're injured. You're slow. You're desperate. And desperate men make mistakes. I looked at Lucas's side for the first time, and saw blood soaking through his shirt. Not a small amount. He had been shot too. He just didn't tell me. My stomach twisted painfully. Lucas, why didn't you say anything? He kept his eyes on Kevin. Because keeping you alive mattered more. Kevin tilted his head. Touching. Really. But I'm not here for him. He's old news. I'm here for you. For me. Why? My voice practically cracked. Kevin looked at me the way someone looks at a problem they're tired of solving. Orders. The word hit me like a punch. The board. They had people everywhere. Even the friendly donut guy. Lucas whispered out the corner of his mouth. When I say run, run. No, I whispered. You can't fight him like this. Kevin stepped closer, boots crunching on gravel. Don't make this dramatic. It won't hurt. Quick shot, quick cleanup, quick exit. My entire body froze. I didn't want to die. Not like this. Not here in this cold tunnel under the dirt behind my own house. Lucas suddenly kicked a cloud of dust toward Kevin and shouted, Run! I didn't think. I just did. I sprinted down the narrow tunnel, my injured shoulder screaming with every step. The lantern dropped behind us, plunging everything into a darker, deeper world. My hands scraped the walls as I stumbled forward. I could hear Kevin coughing behind us, and then his footsteps. Faster. Louder. Closer. Lucas! Cried. He's catching up. Keep moving. Lucas yelled. But he wasn't running as fast. He was limping. His blood was leaving a trail on the floor. Panic clawed at my throat as the tunnel opened into a small underground room, larger than the first, with another ladder on the far wall leading upward. Go! Lucas shouted. Climb! I grabbed the ladder, my muscles shaking, and pulled myself up rung by rung. Lucas followed. Kevin's footsteps thundered into the room. Too slow, Kevin yelled. Climb faster. Lucas reached for the ladder. A gunshot exploded through the tunnel. I screamed. Lucas jerked violently but didn't fall. His hand missed the rung, but he grabbed the ladder again with sheer force of will. Keep climbing, he gasped. I reached the hatch at the top and pushed it open. Cool night air swept in. We were somewhere in the middle of a wide field. Grass, trees, stars. It looked like freedom, if freedom could be surrounded by danger. I pulled myself up and out, then leaned back down. Lucas! Come on! He was halfway up the ladder. But Kevin was now climbing after him. Lucas looked up at me, eyes burning. Run, Jenna. I'm not leaving you. For once, just listen. A second gunshot tore through the ladder, splintering wood. Lucas slipped. No! He yelled. He caught the rung again, but Kevin was now only inches away. In desperation, Lucas swung his elbow back hard, cracking Kevin in the face. Kevin grunted but didn't fall. Instead he smiled. This is fun, he said. Footsteps approached behind me. I spun around, heart hammering. Someone was running toward me in the dark. Shadow. Yes. I stumbled backward. No. The figure sprinted closer. I raised my hands to shield myself. The figure burst into the lantern glow escaping from the tunnel. And I went cold. It was Mr. Hanley. He was panting, sweating, terrified. "Jenna!" he shouted. "Move!" Before I could react, he reached down into the hatch, grabbed Lucas by the collar, and pulled him up with a strength that shocked me. Lucas rolled onto the grass, clutching his side. Kevin jumped for the top of the ladder. Hanley slammed the hatch down on his hand. Kevin screamed in rage. Hanley locked the hatch with a heavy metal bar I hadn't even noticed was sitting in the grass. Everything went silent except our breathing. Rest. Shaky. Panic. I knelt beside Lucas. "Are you okay? Are you?" He nodded weakly. "I'll live." Hanley collapsed onto the grass, chest heaving. "We don't have much time. We need to get off this property." I stared at him, stunned. "Why did you come back?" He met my eyes, really met them, for the first time since this nightmare started. "Because I couldn't leave you," he said. "Not again." "Again," I whispered. "You left us in the house." "No," he said, voice shaking. "I went for help. I went to call someone who owed me a favor. Someone who could help get you out." "Who?" asked. He hesitated. Then he spoke the name. "Agent Monroe." Lucas's eyes widened. "You contacted him. Are you insane? That puts all of us at risk." "He's the only one who can protect her," Hanley snapped. "The only one who can sell her." Lucas countered. My head spun. "What are you talking about? Who is Agent Monroe?" Neither answered me. The two men glared at each other, chest to chest, blood on both their shirts, danger in the air. Then Hanley grabbed my arm gently. "Jenna, we have to go. They'll break that hatch open soon." I looked between the two men. Lucas, bleeding, exhausted but clearly protecting me. Hanley, scared, unpredictable but maybe still on my side. "Where are we going?" I whispered. Hanley opened his mouth. But suddenly, a loud metallic bang echoed from beneath the hatch. Kevin wasn't alone anymore. Others had joined him. Lucas grabbed my hand. "Jenna. Choose. Now." Hanley grabbed my other hand. "Come with me if you want to live." The hatch shook violently. Screams echoed from below. Too many footsteps. Too much danger. I was standing between two men. Both reaching for me. Both desperate. Both claiming they could save my life. Kevin and the others were seconds from breaking through. My breath hitched in my throat. I had 1 second to choose. And just as I opened my mouth, the field lit up with flashing blue lights. Dozens of them. Cruisers. SUVs. Black vans. A helicopter beam swept over us. A voice boomed through a megaphone. "Jenna Coleman. Step away from both men and put your hands in the air." Froze. Hanley froze. Lucas froze. Because the people surrounding us were not the police. Their badges looked wrong. Their uniforms were darker. Their weapons bigger. Their faces expressionless. And on the side of every vehicle was the same symbol I'd seen once before. Inside the locked file room at work. The symbol of the board. They had found us. Completely. Surrounded. And there was no way out. I didn't realize I had stopped breathing until the cold night air finally filled my lungs and made my chest ache. The parking structure was almost empty, the concrete echoing with every step I took as I ran toward the far end, toward the exit, toward freedom, toward anything that wasn't fluorescent lights and scans and controlled hesitation. My hands shook so hard I could barely keep my phone from slipping. The screen lit up. 32 new messages. I ignored them all. I needed one person. Only one. Tapped call. "Come on, pick up. Please pick up." "Hello," the voice answered. I almost cried. Almost sank to the ground. Almost let everything fall apart. "Dad," I breathed. "I need you." There was a pause, heavy, worried, too long. "Sweetheart," he said. "Tell me where you are." But I couldn't. Not yet. Not when headlights suddenly turned on across the lot. Not when a black SUV rolled out of a shadow as if it had been waiting. Not when my pulse jumped so violently I tasted copper in my mouth. Dad, I whispered. Stay on the line, he ordered. Stay with me. I'm being followed. The SUV picked up speed. I broke into a sprint. My bag slapped against my hip. My breath tore out of my throat in ragged gasps. The SUV accelerated, the engine humming like a predator finally stepping out of the dark. Dad's voice sharpened. Where are you? Tell me now. North Lot, I panted. My office. The underground part, there was a woman there. Dad, she knew everything. She said something happened with Rick and... My foot caught the edge of a curb. I stumbled, grabbed a railing, pulled myself forward. The SUV was closing in. Listen to me, Dad said, calm but urgent. Come. Get to people. Anywhere with lights. Don't run into the street if it's empty. Do you hear me? I hear you, I gasped. Good. Now go. Ran. My legs burned. My lungs burned. The world blurred as streetlights streaked past. I burst out of the parking structure and straight onto the sidewalk of a main avenue. Cars, noise, people, life. The SUV slowed but didn't stop. Circled. Watching. Waiting. Dad heard the tremor in my breathing and lowered his voice, almost whispering. They won't take you in public. Keep moving. I'm scared, I choked. That's good, he said. Fear keeps you smart. But fear was also making my hands shake so hard I could barely think straight. I ducked into a convenience store. The lights buzzed overhead. A bored cashier looked up at me and blinked as if I was just another tired person rushing in at the end of a shift. I leaned against the refrigerated drink case, my chest heaving. Dad stayed silent for a moment. Do you have the drive on you? Froze. My breath stopped. Yes, I whispered. Good, he said. Listen to me carefully. You cannot let them have it. I don't even know what's on it. You don't need to know, he replied quietly. You just need to survive long enough to get somewhere safe. The word felt almost foreign now. I opened my mouth to respond, but the store's automatic doors slid open with a soft hiss, and two men in gray jackets stepped inside. Not uniforms. Not security. Not random. They scanned the aisles, searching for me. My heart slammed so hard I thought the floor vibrated. Dad, I whispered. I'm right here, he said. Listen, act normal. Walk to the back. There should be an exit door behind the stock area. If it's locked, scream fire. I swallowed and slid along the drink aisle, pretending to browse. One of the men paused near the end, picking up a packet of gum he didn't care about. The other scanned the ceiling cameras. They weren't looking to steal. They were looking to erase. I reached the back of the store, pushed open the employees-only door, and slipped into the dim hallway where cardboard boxes lined the walls. Pipes overhead creaked. The air smelled like dust and detergent. The exit door was at the far end. Metal. Red bar. Possibly alarmed. I didn't care. I sprinted. Behind me the hallway door opened. A deep voice. She's back here. I hit the bar and shoved. The alarm shrieked like a dying robot. The door flew open. I stumbled into the cold night air behind the store. Trash bins, a loading dock, a single street lamp flickering like it was trying to stay alive. I didn't stop. I darted behind the bins, leapt off the dock, landed on gravel, and kept running. Dad's voice was steady in my ear. Are they behind you? Yes, I gasped. How many? 2 on foot. 1 in the SUV somewhere. I could hear his breath quicken. All right. Listen carefully. Do not go home. Do not go to your office. Do not go anywhere familiar. I don't have anywhere else. Yes, you do, he said firmly. Go to the old bus depot near Riverside. The abandoned one. You remember it. A childhood memory surfaced. Rusty benches, broken vending machines, Dad teaching me to ride a bike there before it shut down. Yes, I said. That place has too many exits for anyone to corner you, he said. I can reach you from the south entrance in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Longer than I wanted. Longer than I liked. But possible. Ran. Street after street. Alley after alley. I darted between buildings, cut through a miniature park, hopped a short fence that tore the hem of my jacket. The men chased, but they couldn't keep up the entire time. Not through fences. Not through parks. Not through tight alleys where their shoulders smacked brick walls. I burst onto Riverside Avenue, wide, empty at night, and saw the old depot in the distance. A huge silhouette against the dark sky. Dead signs. Broken windows. A graveyard of old buses. My legs trembled. Sweat ran down my spine. My throat felt like desert air scraping sandpaper. But I didn't stop. I reached the depot gates, slipped through a gap in the fence, and ran inside. The moment my feet hit the cracked pavement, memories washed over me. Dad holding my bike steady, me wobbling, laughing, falling, trying again. For a moment, felt 9 years old again. Then reality crashed back. The step, vest, blows. They were inside the depot. Dad's voice tightened. I'm 2 minutes away. Find somewhere high. They won't expect you to go up. I scanned the area. A half-collapsed bus leaned against a metal beam, forming a ramp leading to a maintenance walkway. It looked unstable. Dangerous. Perfect. I scrambled up it, hands burning as I grabbed rusted metal. Dust filled my nose. The bus groaned under my weight but didn't collapse. I reached the walkway and pressed myself into the shadows. One man entered the depot floor. He looked around slowly, carefully, like a hunter who preferred patience over bullets. The other man joined him. They whispered to each other. I couldn't hear the words, but I recognized the tone. She has something we need. I don't care what it takes. Find her. I clutched the drive in my pocket. Why was it so important? Why did Rick get involved? Why 71 missed calls? Why was that woman in the underground floor so calm? And yet these men were so desperate. What had I stumbled into? What had I uncovered without even knowing? Sharp crunch. A stone rolled beneath someone's shoe. Not mine. The men stiffened. They turned toward the west corridor. They walked toward it. I exhaled shakily. Then someone whispered from behind me. You went up. Smart. Froze. Cold spread through my veins. Slowly, very slowly. Turned. A figure stood at the far end of the maintenance walkway, half in the shadows, half lit by the moon leaking through a broken glass panel. And when they stepped forward, my blood turned to ice. It wasn't the men from the store. It wasn't the woman from underground. It wasn't a stranger. It was Rick. His face was bruised. His shirt wrinkled. His jaw tight. His eyes wild. And he wasn't shouting now. He was breathing like he had run miles. He looked terrified. Not of me. Of something else. You shouldn't have come here, he whispered. They think you know what's on the drive. I don't. I whispered back fiercely. I know. His voice cracked. I know. That's why this is so bad. My chest tightened. Rick, what is going on? He hesitated, looked over the edge of the walkway, then back at me. They're not after you because of what you did, he said slowly. My heart pounded. They're after you, he continued, voice shaking, because of what I did. I stared at him, confused, stunned, breathless. What did you do? I whispered. He swallowed. Hard. Then said the words that changed everything. I put everything on your laptop to protect myself. And now? They think you're the one who exposed it. My stomach dropped. My head spun. He took one step closer. I'm so sorry, Rick whispered. But they will not let you walk out of this city unless they get that drive back. Below us, the two gray jacket men reached the center of the depot. One of them looked up. Straight at me. His voice echoed. Found her. And that was when the entire depot exploded into chaos. The men charged toward the ramp. Rick grabbed my arm. Somewhere outside, a car screeched to a stop. The night split open with shouts, footsteps, and the sound of metal collapsing. The final extreme event struck like lightning. Because the maintenance walkway beneath us snapped with a loud metallic crack. And the entire structure tilted. Violently. throwing both me and Rick into the air as we plummeted toward the shattered buses below.